It feels good. It's just I think everybody's needing that human connection, just that personal touch. So it's good to see all you guys here, have an opportunity for us to get back to somewhat normalcy, to realize that, man, we're all still people, we're all human beings, and just good to be out in front of you guys and not behind a computer screen.
Tony, how about the progress of the running back room, and in particular Will Shipley?
CJ did a great job with those guys, and obviously it's not easy, coming in. For me it was a little bit bittersweet transitioning, because I recruited all those guys, and I've been through several cycles where I recruited a young man, coached him for 4 years, watched him graduate and move on. But, man, he stepped in, didn't miss a beat. Those guys have really gravitated towards his personality, his coaching style. So feel really, really good, about the hands that I passed him off to. But just excited. I think we all knew Shipley coming out of high school was a very, very talented young man. I think he's, as advertised, everything that he was able to accomplish from a ranking standpoint. He's validated since he's got here. But the thing I'll say about Shipley and Maffa, both of those guys coming in, is they're exceptional young men. And I knew that in the recruiting process, but to actually get to see it in person with them being a part of our program, they're not only going to make the running back room better, but they're going to make everybody better. And they're the type of players that, I've said this before about, individual players. They're the type of players that make a coach better. So really, really pleased with how quickly they were able to pick up, what we're trying to do on offense. They still got a ton to learn, but those guys are, they're gym rats. They're in here all the time. They're putting in extra work. So excited, really, really excited for Kobe to get an opportunity. He was a guy that I think we saw flashes from, last season. For him to have an opportunity to go, neck and neck with Lin J. Really proud of Lin J too. Lin J's been a guy that's been ultra talented. Just had to get him to kind of fully commit to everything that's involved in being a great player. And I think he's starting to really, really make that transition. We've seen a lot of good things out of him this summer. And then, Mikey Dukes is a guy that's really, really talented. That's developing. He's progressing. So, man, there's a ton of depth. And the greatest thing about that room is there's a bunch of competition.
Is Shipley weight-wise where you want him to be? Do you want to put on any more weight, or is he fine where he is?
I think he's fine where he is. I think that's just got to be a natural thing. Biggest thing for him is he's a fast guy. He's very, very quick twitch. What you don't want to do is you don't want to neutralize his speed by putting on too much weight too fast.
Tony, the tight end room, since you took it over, talk about that and transition for you and as for what you see as far as development of players in that room.
It's been fun. It's been fun for me personally because I get back closer to the position that I played. There's a ton of receiver, aspects to the position. Still, there are multiple guys. They got to do a ton of things. So there's a lot of carryover from the running back room from a protection standpoint. But it's fun to get in there and dive in and just get back to my roots. And I think the guys have really, really, taken hold to that. I think they're still trying to figure me out, as a person because my style is different than some other coaches that they may have been around in the past. So they're still trying to figure me out. I'm trying to figure them out because it's a different temperament than being in that running back room. The tight ends, they're a little bit more, straightforward about their business. And so I'm learning how to really communicate most effectively with those guys. But pleased with the progress. Braden is a guy that I think we all know is very, very talented, still has a ton of room before he reaches his ceiling. Biggest thing for him is just to get him committed to being a complete player. I think when he does that, because he's very, very capable. And I'm really more referring to the blocking aspect. He's just getting committed to say, hey, you do what you got to do, get the job done. And I think he's buying into that. Davis is, and I've said this before, Davis, even before I went to the tight ends, he's one of my favorite football players, on the team, just because of the type of person and player that he is. He's early to everything, man. He takes so much pride in his work. He works extremely hard. He's so humble. And I've really seen him start to grow from a receiving aspect, just the details of being able to talk, coverages and fundamentals of route running and releases and playing in space. So really seeing him, gravitate towards that and take hold of it and take off. And Sage, I think Sage caught everybody's eyes. I think we all knew that Sage was a guy with a ton of potential, but you just hadn't seen it because he was in a line. What you saw out of him this spring is that, man, he's a tough young man. He'll put his face in the fan. He can run. He can stretch the field. He just has to grow in the receiver aspect of the position, just the details, the nuances. And in fairness to him, he played quarterback, he played tight end, he played everywhere in high school. Jay Lay, everybody saw Jay Lay in the spring game, and he was excited. I was excited for him, but still, got to get him to the same thing with Braden, just commit to being a complete tight end. And again, he has to understand that at your 6'6", 265, 260, man, there's going to be some expectation of what you can do in the run game, and you're capable. Now let's just go do it. And even if that may not be your favorite part of the position, find a way to fall in love with that so that you get to do the other things that you really, really like to do. And then you got Brendan Stool. I think Brendan Stool, sky's the limit for that young man. I think we knocked it out the park with him, both on and off the field. And he's come in, been about his business. He's a sponge. And the great thing about him, and one thing I'm trying to really change in that tight end room, and not that they weren't before, but you guys that have been around me, you know that I'm all about the unit. It's about the unit. It's about the unit identity. It's about the standard of the unit. It's about everybody being, that brotherhood, and really trying to create that. And he's bought into that. And he's really looking to Braden and Davis to learn how to play the position at a high level. And so that's fun. And he's putting on weight. Since he's gotten here, he's putting on weight, and I think that everybody that had access to spring ball saw, man, what he's capable of, in the passing game, and then he's a very, very willing, participant in the run game. Still has to get stronger, still has to increase his knowledge, his understanding, his technique, but he's a willing participant, and if you got that, then you got the makings of something special.
Is it fair to say that Braden is more similar to a Jordan Leggett, and maybe Allen is more like a Dwayne Allen kind of build, the way they kind of play the game?
I think that there's some comparisons there. Braden is a quick twitch, very receiver fluid. Y'all saw it. I got to say this now. I got to give him props. He put it on me on the basketball court. I went out there ill prepared. I thought we were going to have a little bit of fun. I show up and he's got his Jordans on and he's sweating. But what you saw on the basketball court is he's a very, very fluid athlete. And that's what you see in the passing game. And in fairness to him, he said it. He didn't start playing football until his sophomore year. And then he played wide out. He played quarterback. And so a lot of the stuff that he's doing, even from the receiver perspective, is still some new stuff to him. But he's very, very fluid and can run. I'd say he's probably as fast, if not faster, than Leggett was. Not quite as tall, not as big. And then Davis Allen is just, I think he's the standard of what you're looking for at the point of attack. From a tight end perspective. He's very versatile. He could play the H, or he could play what you call the Y, the attached guy, and be very, very productive. You can isolate him one-on-one with defensive ends, and he's gonna hold his own. And so I think if we can get him, up to speed where he needs to be from a receiving standpoint, because you got to look at him. He played defensive end. I mean, he was in a run-oriented tight end kind of position in high school. So I think that the potential to be like a Dwayne Allen is there. We just got to develop him a little bit more.
Tony, I know we'll hear from Dad a little later about this. Just anything you can say about Justyn Ross?
Jay Ross has worked hard. Man, he looks great. And I'm optimistic, and again, you said it, Coach Sweeney will be able to give you more details of where he is in that process. But from what I know, man, he's put in the work, and I'm very optimistic and excited. But Coach will have more details. I haven't been all the way in the weeds with all the details of that, but, man, he's worked his butt off. He looks great, man, and I'm hopeful that he's going to get everything that he needs done from the protocol standpoint to be able to join us here pretty soon.
Tony, what has it been like watching him work to get back to this point where he can potentially play again?
It's humbling, for me, because you're talking about a young man that had a very serious decision to make, about not just football, but about his life. And to see a young person in this day and age to be able to block out the noise, stay committed to his decision, and go to work every single day, I'm proud of him, and it inspires me. It encourages me to see a young person that's doing things the right way. He's kind of doing it the old school way, but it's the right way. It's make a decision, stay committed to your decision, and then just put everything that you have into it, and then you let the cards fall where they fall.
What does it say about him that he's continued to press forward, not knowing whether he's going to get the clearance to be able to do this?
That he's about the right stuff, and regardless of what happens in his football life, Jay Ross is going to be successful. And it just validates everything that we knew about him in the recruiting process. His mom's made some tremendous sacrifice. His grandma's made tremendous sacrifice for him, and he's repaying them, which that's hard to learn at an early age. Some people, there's even some adults, and there's some areas of my life where I got to do a better job of staying committed to that. But to see that out of a young person just lets you know that he's going to be successful regardless of what he does.
Kind of keeping it in the wide receiver, Will Taylor made the decision to stay here at Clemson. What role did you see him playing realistically in this offense?
Well, you know, the plan with Will Taylor is bring him in as a quarterback for the first year and then transition him potentially to wideout. So what he's going to have to do is come in and learn the quarterback position and be ready to contribute at that position, and then we'll transition down the road to the receiver position. But I anticipate with his skill set, I mean, he's a gamer, he's a natural, he's played quarterback. You know, I'm hoping that as we go forward, we can find some kind of role for him. You know, whether it's at quarterback, whether it's at receiver down the road, just because of the talent that he has, but just the character, and he's coming from a program where all they do is win. You know, so he's bringing us some of that good mojo from where he's coming from. So I'm excited about him, and just, you know, again, looking at a young person that had a tough decision to make, it just goes to show that he went through his process, he evaluated everything, put it on the table, he knew what he wanted, and then he followed his heart.
Is playing quarterback out of necessity this year because of maybe some of the inexperience?
No, that was the plan. You know, that was the plan originally, to sign him as a quarterback, knowing that long term the best thing may be for him to play. But we signed him at quarterback, and that's the plan. That's where we're going to start him, and you know, let him get his feet wet there, and then, you know, whatever happens after that happens.
Is it beneficial for someone like that with his athletic skills to maybe learn that position first and then transition to the receiver game? Because now he'll understand what the quarterback's looking for, then he makes
Right.
that move.
I think for any player and any coach, when you see the big picture, then it helps you at your specific position. You know, and just speaking about myself, the reason that I believe I was able to, not saying I was ready, you know, because back in 14 going into 15, I wasn't ready, you know, but I had to get ready. But I think understanding the big picture, you know, gave me the opportunity to be able to transition, you know, to another aspect of coordinating, and then also running backs, and now going to tight ends. And I think it's the same thing with any player. And we try to teach them the big picture, you know, not just, okay, this is what I do, but why do you do what you do? And when you know why you do what you do, then you understand what you do and how you need to do it and how it affects everybody else around you.
Tony, what's DJ's offseason look like, knowing he's the guy now?
It's been good. You know, a lot of what they're doing now is player led, and so we have to rely on the players to take ownership and take control, because we're limited to access to them from the NCAA perspective, and so it's all player led, and then it's in the weight room, and we get updates and reports. But man, he's working his butt off. You know, he's leading, he's doing everything that he needs to do, and the biggest thing in our program too is we challenge these guys to understand that it doesn't matter where you are on the depth chart, you're preparing as if you're the starter. So it shouldn't be any different. Now the difference is he's had a full year here, you know what I'm saying? And so now the process may change a little bit because you're in year two, you know, so to speak. But in terms of your mindset and the way you approach it, it shouldn't change, whether you're, you know, a guy that's just getting here trying to move up the depth chart, a veteran that may not be where you want to be, or you're the guy that's been a multiple-year starter. Mindset has to be the same.
Tony, is there a added comfort level from your standpoint, the fact that he had 2 games where she had to see the guy as opposed to throwing him out there?
You know, I think you draw some confidence knowing that he's been tested, you know, in that environment. Because with all these guys, you in the back of your mind, you're always like, okay, how are they going to perform when the lights truly come on? Because obviously, practice is very intense, you know, but there's a different level of intensity when the games come, you know, and there's a different level of distraction. Right, there's a lot more noise when the games actually come around. So you do have a comfort level, you know, and a confidence saying, okay, we anticipate based off of what we've seen, but we still have to press him, you know, and grind him and put him in as many strenuous situations so that when those situations arise in the game, that he's prepared for that. Because in 2 games, you're not going to see everything, you know, that you're going to see. So you do have a little bit of confidence, but at the same time too, you still have to make sure that you're stressing him and preparing him, and not sitting back resting on your laurels like, okay, we've seen what he can do. We still got to press him and challenge him every single day, because he's going to be the guy that we anticipate is going to run out there first.
Tony, to tag off of that same question, that's always a challenge. With the depth in the quarterback room where it's at right now, with the injury to Tyson and the young man being drafted to the Major League Baseball, how does that factor into you guys' game planning for DJ going into the season, like running the football, things like that?
You know, we've been in this situation before, you know, where quote unquote, we may not have had the perceived depth that everybody wants to see at quarterback, but nothing has changed, as of right now. We got to go forward with the plan, and what we've always told our quarterback is, your job in the system, in particular in the run game, because that's where a lot of the concern, may come from, is you got to make us right, and even with those other guys, you see that there's certain situations in certain games that, hey, they got to make us right. They got to neutralize the defense. They got to give us an extra hat, create some better angles, in the run game. So, that hasn't changed. And, we're optimistic about Tyson too, and the way he's progressed. And obviously don't know exactly when we're going to get him back, but I know that he's working his butt off. And there's been some really good reports coming out of the training room on his progress. And so you feel confident that at some point this season you'll get him back. Then you got a couple of really talented guys that turn down scholarship opportunities to come here and be preferred walk-ons in Hunter Helms and Billy Wiles, and then you throw Will Taylor into the mix, and so you got guys there. And even had Bubba Chandler chose football, he's still a young guy, and so he would have been another body, but he's still a young guy. So Streeter's going to do a great job, as he always does, of making sure that he develops all those guys and have them all ready to play. And then as we get into specific game plan stuff, we'll be strategic in how we attack defenses with our quarterback, as we always are. That's a question we'll get into as we finish up our all-in meetings. I anticipate that the coach will always have him ready. Coach always has a plan. His job is to manage the personnel, the roster, the morale, and then I just kind of go feed off of him. Whatever he gives me, he says, hey, this is what you got. This is what we're going to go work with.